Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Executive Officer of the Downtown Detroit Partnership. I wanted to make sure I had it right. Eric Larson. How are you, sir?
Well, you could have called me anything and you would have had it right. And a lot of people have called me things. So great, Jim. It's awesome to be with you. And thanks for taking the time to talk about not only what's happening in Detroit, but just continue to be such a great partner and promoter.
The I-75 cap project is something that really caught my eye and a lot of people's eyes. And I really wanted to get you on to talk about it. Walk us through this project, what it means and what it is.
Well, I think it's really interesting. I mean, a number of communities around the country are, and quite frankly, even around the world, are grappling with how to reconnect cities that, in some way or another were divided by infrastructure, whether it was through the highway program, like, was done in the States in the 50s and 60s, or other forms of mobility that has evolved over the years and the decades. And so Detroit is no different. And what we're trying to do here at the Downtown Detroit Partnership is think creatively about what is the next 100 years of our downtown want to look like, and most importantly, how do we continue to build on an environment that we've been doing for over 100 years that is really responsive to not only the current needs and demands of our community, but also the future opportunities in innovation, mobility. Detroit is such a unique place. It's, not only, continues to be absolutely the motor city, but quite frankly, we're starting to think of it more as the mobility city
Yeah.
because of these kinds of interventions. And so I-75 is a section, the project is a section of the expressway, I-75 expressway, that dissects, what would be traditionally thought of as the core of the downtown, the financial district, and Midtown, or the entertainment district where the sports stadiums are. And that sort of divide has, created an inability to move, sort of efficiently as well as pleasantly between some very strong hub nodes of activity. And so we're trying to restore those connections between neighborhoods and large, economic investment. It's going to be very interesting because not only is it quieting and calming the experience as you navigate the downtown, but it also is providing has the opportunity to provide some incredible public spaces. And so for those that know downtown Detroit, it's from 2nd Street, which is sort of close to where Motor City Casino, for instance, is on the west side of our downtown. And then it runs all the way to the east to Brush Street, which is very close to I-375. So people can kind of envision that section of I-75 and what we're trying to do with a series of caps above that expressway.
Have you seen this in other cities? Give us some examples that we can maybe go look at and say, this is how it works.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, right here in our own town, MDOT, our Department of Transportation in the state, has done this about 20 years ago in Oak Park over 696. So there are a series of 3 caps in Oak Park that we can actually go and see how they're functioning today. The local community programs those public spaces, and it's a sort of an initial taste. Some of the more current examples are, for instance, everybody heard about Boston's Big Dig. That was a much more grand and much more ambitious project of a few $1 billion to cover the highway as it ran through the entire section of Boston. Clyde Warren Park in Dallas is a fantastic brand new representation of what can be done, which is actually much more similar to what we're proposing. And if you think about the way we've done it, and I would love for anybody that has interest to visit downtowndetroit.org, our website, because we have some amazing visual guides as to what this could look like and renderings on our website. But if you think about it, a series of caps rather than one long continuous cap allows for intervention in different activities that relates to the neighborhoods that it abuts.
It's always interesting to me, the evolution of the Motor City. And I know you've been 2014, right? Is when you started. And over the last
Hard to
decade.
believe it's been 10 years. Stop dating.
Wow. I've really gained a unique perspective over the past, 12 months. My son Adam is going to Wayne State. I'm studying marketing and music, and
Congratulations.
as immerse ourselves in downtown even more, not only to go see our son, but it's funny how it's wound up. We call them drop-off dinners. We take him back after he'd come home for the weekend sometimes. On Monday, it wasn't enough just to drop him off at campus and go home. We would find a place to visit, some art, restaurant. We'd go have a drop-off dinner all over the Motor City. And we aren't even close to discovering all the restaurants, all the places, and it's constantly evolving. My point is, this city has become a living, breathing organism of advancement, development, and excitement. I'm not just saying that because you're on. It's really neat to see it, and you guys have to be aware of it.
Well, yeah, Jim, I mean, you think about just even 2024 and the experiences that we had in this city, starting in April with the draft and
Yeah.
775,000 of our closest friends coming, but 200,000 of those people had never, either hadn't been to the city or hadn't been there in a long time, and were from out of the state. And so we're really changing perceptions. But to your point, I didn't grow up in Michigan. I grew up in the East Coast, and a lot of the conversations we'd have is that you could have breakfast, lunch, and dinner in New York City and never repeat or the same restaurant for the rest of your life. Well,
Right.
Detroit is very quickly, I mean, we're not quite there, but we are very quickly, to your point, providing a ton of different experiences. It's not just culinary experiences. To your point, it's cultural experiences. It's just great outdoor public spaces, which I'm very proud of our team and our ability to continue to build on the over 1,000 free events that we program in our public spaces. And so you're absolutely right. And we're topping most of the national publications as a top destination in 2025 to come visit. So things are good.
And these caps are just a reminder of that the neighborhoods, it was always the thing, and you know this. I mean, Eric, it was always the discussion. Well, Detroit's got to get connected. When I go to Chicago, it's connected. I can walk the Miracle Mile. When I'm in New York, I'm connected on Broadway. It was always connect to everything. Well, I can be in one cool neighborhood, but I don't really want to, I have to go here. It feels more and more like everything's connecting. Is that part of the big plan for you guys?
It absolutely is part of the big plan. And it's not just in the automotive infrastructure, it's in our pedestrian infrastructure, it's in our micro mobility infrastructure. So you think about 5 miles now on the riverfront that is connected and connecting then to the north into neighborhoods. You've got now the Joe Louis Greenway that is just this massive belt of green space and activity that's surrounding the city. So all of these linkages are incredibly important, and they're not just important for us, that, whether you're coming to work or visit, but they're also critical tools for us to encourage investment. So you think about I-75 and the caps. Strategically, we're thinking about three, because the one on the west side at Second Avenue is very, very much abuts not only what's happening on Grand River, which is becoming this innovation corridor, cuts down and connects obviously to Corktown and everything that's happening at Michigan Central, which is just amazing to think the 135 new businesses have started up in new labs. I mean, just incredible activity at Michigan Central. But then it also connects to U of M's Center for Innovation, which is under construction currently. And then you continue up north and it connects obviously to what Henry Ford is doing and the $3.2 billion investment they're making in that neighborhood. But then you move to the east, and at the center of Woodward, Jim, and you and I've experienced this. I mean, you're going to a Red Wings game at LCA, you cross over I-75, you can't get across that bridge fast enough. Well, here you'd have a public space, you'd have the ability to have this great new hotel that's been proposed at the district spill out into that public space and have that be their front yard. And then you move a little bit further east down at Brush Street, where you've got not only what was the old Brewster neighborhood, but you got Brush Park, you've got obviously Ford Field, where we're having a lot more success these days. And so all of that starts to get connected in a way, that is really important to the downtown, but also encouraging additional investment.
Friday night, I was at the Pistons game. My wife and my son and I, and we were down there. We parked at the UWM garage, and I was on top of the garage. We're up in the fifth deck, and I'm looking out, and I'm trying to conceptualize, and we'll put the artwork up. But I could see it, and I'm going, this would be so cool for so many people to go back and forth across, and just that visual. Eric, are we done with the New York Times writing the rebirth of Detroit stories? Remember, like it was a drinking game. If they didn't have anything else to write about, they would write about rune porn and how Detroit's reborn. We're back,
Yeah.
right? Can we just move on from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important for us to remember where we were and not repeat some of the mistakes of the past, obviously. And so I think we are much better positioned to work collectively and focus on that. But it's funny, quick story, Jim. I mean, when I first came to town, I was in the real estate business and I was working for a company, a multinational out of Houston. And the first project we were doing here was One Detroit Center, now Ally Center. And we trying desperately to get get investors. And this is obviously back in the 80s. And it was when New York Times Magazine had Detroit the first third world city in America. And that was the headline on the cover of Time Magazine. We've got these investors coming in off the plane carrying that magazine. We have come so far from that time. And, you think about, even we were talking even before this conversation about, the Detroit Grand Prix and what that means to the city.
Yeah.
And it's an annual event that you're very engaged with. that continues to demonstrate Detroit to a national and international audience in a way that people really don't think about Detroit. So yes, I think we have well moved past that. I never ever want to take the foot off the gas because, you know, as soon as we do, somebody else will catch us. Not to continue the race analogy, but the reality is we are in a great place and we've got some amazing leadership. I mean, what, you know, the Duggan administration has done, obviously, in creating reliability. People invest where they have reliability and comfort. And it's very easy to move to other places around the country, much less around the world, if we aren't creating an environment that really is responding to all of our needs. And I think we've done a good job. We've got more to go, but we're doing a good job.
Absolutely right. You know, we talk so much about what in that business climate, everyone talks about fiduciary responsibilities and they talk about, you know, where your employees are going to be. There's an affiliatory nature to this that you want to be somewhere where you're excited and you're proud of. And Detroiters and people who are moving here, whether they're here 6 years, 6 months or whatever, they're so proud of what they do and what we're doing. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you. Real quick Grand Prix story, Eric. When I first started doing this, announcing with the Grand Prix, the drivers would come in, they'd go to Belle Isle, they'd have fun. But it was always right after Indy, and it was a lot. I mean, a lot. Now they come here, they talk about the restaurants. I heard one of the guys talking about the foodie scene. It was Graham Rahal. He was talking about it. He goes, dude, this place is like Chicago because every time I'm here, there's 10 different restaurants. Santino Ferrucci, who's from New Haven, was giving me crap because he thought his pizza was better. I got buddies delivered to the pits. The whole crew inhaled it. And he went, he goes, it's pretty good pizza. And so now I got a text from him last week. I got to buy buddies for the crew again. But it's that vibe, that energy that's going on here. And you're right. It's not just in the Grand Prix. When I'm down at the train station, we go down to Corktown, my buddy Matt with Cork and Gable, and in Roosevelt Park, staring at that train station, remembering you didn't go to Roosevelt Park during the day, much less at night. That is one of the most beautiful places in the city. And in a large part, it's what your leadership and what you guys have done working with all these leaders. Again, looping back to my whole long point is it's affiliatory. We all want to be part of Detroit right now. And that's a powerful thing.
We do. And we've got some, you know, to your point, I mean, we've got some incredible, you know, not only visionary, but really dedicated leadership. I mean, think about what Roger Penske has done. You know, Roger was our past chair, and during his leadership at the Downtown Detroit Partnership, he not only rallied people to donate, you know, 111 new emergency vehicles, police cars and ambulances, but also led the Super Bowl in 2006, which was the first time that we were really starting to change people's perception about where Detroit was headed. And then obviously fast forward and, you know, 30 plus years of the Grand Prix and now moving it back to the streets of Detroit and all of the excitement you just talked about. Even Michigan Central, I mean, the way that Bill Ford and the Michigan Central team have really focused on that, it is as much a public asset, not just Roosevelt Park, but the building itself, the way that they're thinking about the additional 6 acres that is behind the building and back to our conversation about connections and linkages, all that links to Southwest and all that links back to down to the river. Restoring rail service at what used to be our Ellis Island with Michigan Central. I mean, you can pick a neighborhood or a place or a person throughout the city that represents that kind of tenacity, that kind of commitment. And quite frankly, I mean, to steal a term from the Lions, that kind of grit.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is our bottom line? What is our timeline for this CAP project as we move forward? I've seen all the community outreach and you're doing a wonderful job of that. We all feel like we're part of the process and we are. But in an optimal world, what is the timeline for this, Eric?
Well, we've got great public partners, obviously, with the city and the state through MDOT. And it is, you know, I appreciate you commenting on the public engagement because that is one of the things that the Downtown Detroit Partnership really prides itself. We need to make sure that we're doing this, you know, through the community and actually having the community's vision lead this process, which has been what we've been able to do with I-75. And so the process, we have been very fortunate to have been granted just, you know, over $6 million through federal grants and then some local match that has been very important to keep the planning and moving forward. We'll continue to finalize that planning. Typically in a project like this, in order to get construction financing, which would be the next phase, we need to be at least at 30% design. And so we think that over the next, you know, 6 to 8 months, we'll be able to complete that 30% and maybe even more on one or more of the caps design so that we can then be a shovel-ready project that is very attractive both for our state partners at MDOT to put into their investment cycle, but also the federal government through federal highway transportation dollars, which ultimately flow into the state. So our next step is to make sure we're continuing to listen to the community, figure out what these caps exactly look like and how they can be constructed, and then make our pitch to get them built towards the end of the year.
The first shovel has to be from the captain, Iserman. If it's a cap, it's got to be Iserman. I'm just saying.
That is
right?
now you are the first to bring that up, and that's
yes, I own that. That's mine.
If we could make it so that the Gordie Howe Bridge is opening at the same time Iserman is digging the first shovel, that would be even better. But yeah,
this is synergy right here. That's what that is. Okay, Downtown Detroit Partnership. People watching this, so they want to get involved, they want more information on it. What's the easiest way to do that?
DowntownDetroit.org is our website. Super easy to navigate all of our information. And Jim, thank you for saying that, because it's not just about the cap. We obviously are doing a lot of work on I-75 and re-envisioning how that road can raise and connect the east side of our downtown. We also have a data dashboard that has tremendous information as people try and make better educated decisions through data. And so lots of information on our website, and I encourage anybody to get engaged, and feel free to give me a call.
You're always welcome here. You know that. We support what you do, and everyone with the Downtown Detroit Partnership. It's an amazing collective ensemble of men and women. What you've done is inspiring and motivating to so many folks. I hope you realize outside of Detroit and southeastern Michigan, we look to you guys for leadership and example of how to get it done, and you're doing it. So keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate that, Jim. I mean, I've got a great team, and I'm standing on a lot of broad shoulders. I mean, our current chair, Cindy Paskey, and as I mentioned, Roger Penske and others. We're continuing to just find ways to work together and ultimately move the city forward, which is the best place to be. I know I only had one good idea with the Iserman one, but if you need a DJ on the board, I'm your guy. Okay.
Yeah, I love that idea. I will put you to work. That's a deal.
Deal.
And I look forward to seeing you down on the track.
Deal. Absolutely. All the best to you. Congratulations and everything again. We'll talk soon.
Take care. Thanks.